What if the real reason you're exhausted isn't because you're lazy, but because your energy is leaking into battles that don't belong to you? What if the silence you've been avoiding is actually the doorway to the power you've been seeking? And what if, just maybe, the fastest way to transform your life is to stop explaining yourself to people who don't even matter? You're not falling behind because you're unmotivated. You're losing time because you keep justifying yourself, your dreams, your boundaries to the wrong people. People who drain your energy, distract your mind, and pull you further away from your truth. But hear this: silence isn't weakness. Silence is power, fully realized. In a world addicted to noise, comparison, and non-stop validation, staying quiet is revolutionary. Now pause for a second and ask yourself, who are you really building this life for? Who are you trying to impress? If you feel constantly tired, emotionally stuck, or like you're always proving your worth, this isn't random. That's the trap. And this video is your first step out of it. Because today, you'll learn one thing that changes everything. When you turn inward and speak less, you gain more. More clarity, more peace, more control. But don't expect this to be easy. This path, this shift, isn't about hustle or motivation. It's about eliminating noise. If there's only one thing you take from this video, let it be this: your silence is your strength. Your presence is your anchor. So stay with us till the very end. There's a powerful insight coming that might just shift your entire mindset. Let's begin with lesson 1. The power of self-focus. Return to your center, because peace isn't found out there. It's something you return to within. These aren't just poetic words from ancient texts. They're survival tools in a world spinning with distractions. When life feels overwhelming, when your thoughts race and nothing feels clear, Buddhism offers a timeless answer. Come back to your center. Picture this: you are the sun, steady, radiant, unshakable. Yet every day you mistake passing clouds and storms for your identity. You let the temporary define the eternal. You scroll through other people's curated lives. You replay old arguments. You stress over things that haven't happened yet. And slowly, the present moment disappears, just like grains of sand slipping through your fingers. That's the cost of forgetting your center. You're everywhere, except here, connected to everything, except yourself. But here's the shift. What if the silence you resist is exactly what your soul craves? When you stop talking, stop performing, and finally focus inward, everything begins to settle. Not because the world changes, but because you do. In Buddhist thought, mindfulness isn't just a practice. It's a way of remembering who you truly are when the world tries to make you forget. It's choosing to observe your breath instead of chasing your fears, to reflect inward instead of reacting outward. This is how you reclaim peace, not by fighting the storm outside, but by mastering the storm within. We ended just now with a simple but powerful truth. Silence doesn't mean giving up. It means returning to your center, reclaiming your power. Now let's go a little deeper, because real change begins when you turn inward and stay there, no matter how loud the outside world becomes. Have you ever noticed how often you seek approval, compare your progress, or try to fix problems that were never even yours? Every time you look outward for peace, you hand over your power in exchange for fleeting validation. But every single time you pause, breathe, and come back to your values, you take that power back. So how do you begin this shift? Step 1. Silence the noise. not by escaping the world, but by creating stillness inside of you. It's not about isolation, it's about intention. Peace isn't found in a quieter room, it's born in a quieter mind. Step 2. Watch your thoughts without judgment. Let them come, let them go. Like waves crashing on a shore. They rise and fall, but they aren't you. Step 3. Focus only on what's truly within your control. Your energy, your focus, your response. You don't need to control the wind. You only need to steer your sail. Step 4. Repeat. This isn't a one-time breakthrough. It's a daily return, a sacred practice. Just like brushing your teeth or waking with the sun, it's something you commit to again and again. There's a beautiful old story about a monk who sat quietly while chaos erupted in his village. The people shouted, argued, pointed fingers, but the monk said nothing. When asked why he didn't react, he answered with a smile. If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to? That's the essence of inner stillness. Not silence from weakness, but silence from wisdom. So ask yourself right now, where is your energy flowing today? Are you feeding your fear or your future? Are you living for applause or for alignment? Because the more you center yourself, not from ego, but from self-awareness, the more things around you begin to fall into place. You stop reacting. You begin responding. With clarity, you stop chasing. You start creating. And the noise? It will never fully disappear. But you can rise above it. You don't need to get rid of the storm because you are the sun. And the storm, it always passes. So return to your breath. Return to your values. Return to yourself. Because from that place, everything changes. Silence isn't the absence of strength, it's the presence of power. Lesson 2. Silence as strength. Speak less. Align more. Silence isn't empty. It's filled with answers. In today's world, where we're rewarded for speed, updates, and constant reaction, silence has become rare, almost forgotten. But in Buddhist teachings, silence is sacred. It isn't a lack of sound, it's the presence of alignment. It's strength wrapped in stillness. Imagine a calm, still lake. It doesn't chase the sky, yet it reflects it with perfect clarity. In the same way, the mind becomes truly insightful only when it is still. Think about it. How often do we speak just to fill the space? To prove we're right? To defend ourselves from things that don't even threaten us? But every word you speak uses your energy. And in the rush to be heard, you often lose something even more precious, your peace. That's why, especially in moments of tension, the strongest thing you can do is pause. There's a story about a Zen master who remained silent even when he was insulted, misjudged, or provoked. When asked why he never fought back, he said simply, "I choose peace over proving." That's not avoidance, that's wisdom. Because not everything requires your reaction. Not every opinion deserves a response. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Have you ever walked away from a conversation wishing you had said less? Or stayed up at night replaying words you regret? You're not alone. But here's where everything begins to shift. Previously, we explored the quiet strength found in silence, the kind that doesn't shout to be heard, but resonates through presence. Now, let's take this idea even further. What if silence is your hidden superpower? What if that exact moment when you held back was the very moment you took back control? When you speak less, you begin to hear more, not just the words of others, but the quiet voice of your own intuition. Suddenly, Your intentions become clearer. Your thoughts grow sharper. You're no longer broadcasting noise. You're radiating presence. And presence, that's magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who stay calm under pressure, to those who don't flinch when chaos rises, to those who don't need to be the loudest voice in the room, because their silence already speaks volumes. So how do you begin aligning through silence? Step 1. Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, does this need to be said? Will it bring peace or just more noise? Step 2. Practice full listening. Not the kind where you're waiting for your turn to reply, but the kind where your entire focus is on understanding. Step 3. Use silence as a filter. Let your emotions breathe before you choose your reaction. You'll find that what felt urgent in the heat of the moment often fades when given space. Step 4. Reflect. Ask yourself at the end of each day, what did silence teach me today? Because one day you'll look back and realize the moments you chose not to react protected your peace. The words you held back preserved a relationship. The silence you honored gave you the clarity to choose a better path. So let me ask you, when was the last time your silence said more than your words ever could? Could it be that your greatest act of strength is choosing not to speak? You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You don't need to react to prove your power. Because true mastery is not found in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. It's not in speaking constantly, but in speaking consciously. In today's noisy world, silence is a quiet rebellion. It's how you rise above the noise. It's how you come home to your peace. Sometimes, the loudest message is the one you never speak. Lesson 3. Detaching from negativity. Become untouchable. You only lose what you cling to. This ancient Buddhist wisdom runs deeper than most people realize, because every time you hold on to an insult, a grudge, a mistake, a painful memory, you give suffering a home inside your heart. But what if you didn't have to? What if, instead of reacting, defending, or replaying it all, you simply let it go? Picture the sky, vast, open, untouched. Storms may pass through, winds may howl, but the sky remains untouched. That is your mind, or at least it can be. In a world obsessed with reaction, becoming untouchable isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. It's about knowing what to absorb and what to let pass. Imagine walking through life with a mind like the sky. Thoughts arise, opinions drift by, criticism enters and exits, but none of it stays. You observe, you learn, but you don't cling. That's not detachment from life. That's freedom from being ruled by it. Too often, we wear other people's judgments like labels. Someone doubts you and you shrink. Someone insults you, and you carry that wound. But the truth is, not every voice deserves your energy. And just because something is loud doesn't mean it's true. Detachment is choosing your peace over their projection. It's realizing you are not every thought, every feeling, or every reaction that moves through you. Have you ever felt emotionally exhausted after holding on to resentment? Or after replaying an argument in your head 100 times? Or trying to gain approval from someone who never truly saw you? That exhaustion, it doesn't come from the situation. Earlier, we uncovered a quiet truth. Your exhaustion often doesn't come from the chaos itself, but from your attachment to it. Now, let's go deeper, because the real drain on your peace often begins the moment you absorb what you should have ignored. So let's ask, How often are you letting things into your mind that don't belong there? Here's how you begin protecting your inner space, your most sacred place. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. Pay attention to when something outside of you tugs at your peace. It could be a comment, a glance, a headline, or even your own doubt. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. Step 2. Pause before you react. Allow yourself to feel what's rising, but don't become it. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. Emotions are visitors. Let them pass through. Step 3. Ask yourself, does this deserve a place in my mind? Not every opinion, not every conflict, not every fear deserves your energy. Ask this question often. Let it guide your boundaries. Step 4. Let it pass. Visualize the thought or emotion as a cloud drifting across the sky. You are not the storm. You are the sky. Vast, unshaken, eternal. There's a beautiful story of a monk who was once insulted by a passing traveler. The monk simply smiled and said nothing. Later, when someone asked why he didn't defend himself, he replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" That's detachment, not passive, not indifferent, but powerfully intentional. Detachment is choosing peace over reaction, silence over unnecessary battles, clarity over confusion. And here's the thing. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you deeply care about what actually matters. Your peace, your growth, your energy, your inner path. Because when you stop trying to control every opinion, when you stop chasing validation, when you stop explaining your worth to everyone, you become untouchable. Not because you've built walls, but because you've built freedom. So let me ask you gently, what if not reacting is your greatest freedom? What if letting go was your most radical act of self-love? Imagine how your life would feel if you stopped clinging to the noise and started fiercely protecting your calm. In a world obsessed with conflict and noise, your stillness is rebellion. Let the storms pass. Let the noise fade. Choose not to absorb, and you rise. Because the less you cling, the higher you rise. Lesson 4. Discipline is divine. Build your inner structure. A disciplined mind brings happiness. Not someday, not when things get easier, but right now. Discipline isn't restriction. It's not about control. It's about freedom through structure. In a world that pulls your attention in every direction, discipline is how you gather yourself back. It's how you reclaim your time, your focus, your energy. Think of the bamboo tree. For years it grows silently underground, roots expanding deep and strong. Above the surface, nothing. No visible progress. But then suddenly, when the time is right, it grows taller than the trees around it, almost overnight. That's the power of inner structure. Unseen effort, quiet commitment, explosive transformation. In Buddhist teachings, discipline isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. It's a sacred commitment to your highest self, especially when no one is watching. Because when the world gets chaotic, your habits become your shelter. When emotions swirl, your routines become your compass. Discipline doesn't silence chaos by eliminating it. It rises above it. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You don't wait to feel ready. You train your mind to show up, regardless. So reflect for a moment. How many days have slipped by while you waited for motivation? How many more will you lose if you don't build the strength to begin without it? Because discipline is what shows up when your mood doesn't. It's what moves you forward when the voice in your head says, "Not today." Earlier, we explored how discipline isn't about waiting for motivation. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. Now let's look at the inner strength built in those quiet moments, because sometimes the greatest breakthroughs happen when no one is watching. That voice in your head, the one that says, "Why bother?" or "Not today." That's not your truth. That's your test. And each time you move through it, each time you rise above it, your mind grows stronger. The real question isn't how you act when others are watching. It's what your mind does when it's just you and the silence. Anyone can perform when there's applause, but transformation is built in the shadows. In the early mornings when you choose stillness over sleep. In the meditative minutes when you breathe through frustration. In the quiet choices. Your journal instead of your screen. Your intention instead of your impulses. So how do you build sacred structure within? Step 1. Start with small rituals aligned with your deepest values. Don't try to do everything at once. Start with one meaningful habit. Step 2. Repeat it daily, regardless of your mood. Discipline doesn't need fireworks. It needs consistency, even when you don't feel like it. Step 3. Observe how your energy shifts over time. You'll notice when peace becomes your reward, motivation becomes secondary. You begin showing up because of who you are, not how you feel. Step 4. Don't strive for perfection. Refine instead. Discipline isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things again and again. There's a beautiful Zen story about a monk who swept the same garden every morning, even when there were no leaves. When someone asked why, he replied, "It's not about the leaves. It's about the mind I bring to the task." That's what self-discipline really is. It's not just about what you do. It's about who you become while doing it. So ask yourself today, what would your life look like if your daily actions were in harmony with your core values? What if you honored your peace, not by waiting for motivation, but by building it through discipline? Focus on yourself. Build quietly. Show up daily. Because just like the bamboo tree that grows in silence for years underground, one day all that unseen effort will rise, and when it does, it will be undeniable. Discipline is the quiet force behind every life that blooms with purpose. Lesson 5. Let go of toxic people. Protect your peace. There's a saying in Buddhist wisdom, if you light a lamp for someone else, it also brightens your path. But what if the person you're trying to light that lamp for keeps blowing it out? Sometimes the most courageous act of love is walking away, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You can't grow in the same environment that once suffocated your spirit. You can't fully heal in a room where your peace was constantly broken. And yet, so many of us stay. We stay hoping our light will change the ones who keep dimming it. We stay trying to give from an empty cup. But ask yourself, are you nourishing your soul, or simply surviving between energy crashes? Buddhism teaches compassion for all living beings, but not at the expense of self-neglect. You were never meant to carry toxic relationships as proof of your kindness. True compassion includes yourself, and protecting your peace is part of that. Energy is contagious. The more you're surrounded by chaos, gossip, or negativity, the more it clings to you. Soon, it becomes hard to tell where their noise ends, and your truth begins. There's a story of a monk who offered blessings to every person he passed. One day, a bitter traveler mocked him cruelly. The monk simply smiled and said nothing. When asked later why he didn't respond, he said, When someone offers you poison, you don't have to drink it. That's the wisdom we often forget. Letting go doesn't mean you hate them. It means... Previously, we explored the power of walking away, not out of bitterness, but out of self-love. Now, let's take the next step. What happens when you decide to stop harming your own peace? Sometimes the most toxic people wear familiar faces. They're not strangers. They're friends, family, even people we once called home. But here's the hard truth. Just because someone is familiar doesn't mean they're safe. You can love someone deeply and still realize they aren't meant to walk beside you on your path forward. Some connections are lessons, not lifelong companions. The more tightly you cling, the deeper you bleed. But when you finally let go of the rope, the pain begins to ease. And in that gentle space, something beautiful happens. Healing begins. So how do you begin to protect your energy? Step 1. Pay close attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you feel lighter, inspired, or do you feel drained, anxious, and small? Step 2. Set silent boundaries. You don't need to announce your peace. You don't owe an explanation for your distance. Distance is a decision, not a debate. Step 3. Choose stillness over drama. Let silence become your sanctuary. Let peace, not chaos, be your default. Step 4. Let go with compassion. You don't have to slam the door. Just gently close it. Bless their path and keep walking yours. This journey isn't about isolating yourself. It's about aligning with the version of you that is growing, healing, evolving. Because when you protect your peace, you make space for people and places that nurture you. People who respect your stillness, support your discipline, celebrate your quiet transformation. These are the souls who match your healing, not resist it. So let me ask you, who would you become without the noise, without the voices that question your worth, or the distractions that weigh down your spirit? You'd be free, you'd be focused, you'd be whole. And there is nothing selfish about choosing yourself. In fact, it may be the most sacred decision you'll ever make. Not everyone is meant to go where you're headed, and that's perfectly okay. Letting go isn't loss. It's creating space for the peace you were always meant to feel. Lesson 6. Master small habits. Shape your reality. Because what you do today becomes who you are tomorrow. Not in the loud, dramatic moments, but in the quiet, unnoticed ones. Not when others are watching, but when you're alone with your choices. We often imagine transformation as a single, life-changing breakthrough. But real growth, it comes in whispers, in the silent, consistent commitment to small actions, the ones that feel invisible at first, but become everything over time. Tiny drops fill an entire ocean. One breath, one choice, one intention at a time. In Buddhist teachings, every moment is both the seed and the soil of who you are becoming. The life you dream of isn't somewhere far away. It's not waiting for you years from now. It's being shaped right now by your daily habits, by the thoughts you feed, the energy you protect, the rituals you keep, especially when no one's watching. That's how your reality is built, from the inside out. Peace is not something you wait for, it's something you build. Brick by brick, breath by breath, through small, intentional acts. It might be a morning breath instead of a morning scroll, a slow sip of tea in silence instead of rushing straight into stress, a 5-minute meditation instead of drowning in mental noise. These aren't rules. Earlier, we explored how small habits, done consistently, don't just shape your routine, they shape you. Now let's go one layer deeper. Because those habits, they're more than routines. They're quiet rituals, anchors that pull you back to your center when the world tries to pull you away. Think of your daily practices as a kind of spiritual architecture. Each act of mindfulness is a brick. Each choice to pause instead of react is a beam. Each moment of silence you protect becomes a window into clarity. And the more you show up for yourself, especially when it's dull, especially when it's difficult, the more you begin building a sacred temple inside, a space untouched by chaos, a place where no negativity can live. So ask yourself honestly, what habit is silently designing your future right now? Is it strengthening your peace or feeding your distractions? Is it honoring your future self or avoiding the work that could set you free? Start simple. Start small. Step 1. Choose just one habit, one practice that reconnects you to your higher self. It could be breathwork, journaling, walking without your phone, or simply sitting in stillness. Step 2. Tie it to something you already do each day. Stack it. Link it. Let it ride the momentum of your existing routine. Step 3. Protect that practice. Let nothing interfere. Not your emotions, not your excuses. Show up for it the same way you'd show up for someone you deeply respect. Step 4. Pay attention to how you feel afterward. Let your habit become your teacher. Let it show you what you actually need, not what the world says you should want. Here's the hidden gift of small, sacred habits. They build self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you quietly affirm, I am someone who follows through. And that belief, it becomes your identity. That identity influences your decisions. And those decisions, they shape your entire life. There's an old saying, first we make our habits, then our habits make us. So build with care, build with patience, build quietly, build with love. Because the life you're longing for isn't waiting at the end of some grand event. It's woven into the small, sacred moments you repeat when no one is clapping. Big change isn't created by force. It's shaped by quiet, daily devotion to the person you're becoming. Lesson 7, Mindfulness in Chaos. Respond, don't react. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Do not learn how to react. Learn how to respond. In the middle of chaos, most people get swept away. One sharp word, one unexpected event, one emotional trigger, and suddenly they're caught in a storm of reactions. But imagine this instead. Imagine being the calm in that storm. Imagine being so grounded, so rooted in yourself, that no matter what hits, you bend, you sway, but you don't break. Like a strong tree that survives the fiercest winds, not by resisting the storm, but by flowing with it, anchored deep beneath the surface. That is the art of mindfulness in chaos. Buddhism teaches, suffering doesn't come from what happens. It comes from how we react to what happens. An untrained mind panics, defends, lashes out. It blames, it runs, it spirals. But a trained mind, a mind that knows how to stay present, pauses. And in that pause lies power. Because that's where peace begins. Think back to the last time you overreacted. Did it solve anything? Or did it simply multiply the pain? Reactions are born of ego, quick, emotional, impulsive. But responses, they come from presence, from the breath you took before speaking, from the awareness you invited before deciding, from the stillness you cultivated before the world could shake you. And here's the quiet truth that changes everything. Previously, we uncovered the power of learning to respond, not react, of mastering the pause as your first act of inner strength. Now let's explore the quiet anchor that makes this mastery possible: your breath. Because no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you always have your breath. It's the one tool that's always with you. It's your anchor, your return point, a doorway back to clarity when everything feels blurry. One deep inhale before responding to that frustrating message. One slow exhale before saying something you can't take back. One quiet moment of stillness before you act on impulse. This is how we begin retraining the mind, not to panic, not to fight, but to respond with presence. So how do we bring this into your daily life? Step 1. Start noticing your triggers. What moments, words, people, or even thoughts spark a quick emotional reaction? Awareness is always the beginning of change. Step 2. Interrupt that pattern with your breath. Just 5 seconds. Inhale deeply. Exhale fully. Reset your nervous system. Reclaim your space. Step 3. Ask yourself, will this reaction bring me peace, or will it prolong my pain? It's a simple question, but when asked in the moment, it creates room for transformation. Step 4. Practice this daily, not just in big moments, but in small annoyances too. The traffic jam, the forgotten chore, the passive-aggressive comment. Every time you pause, you're building your response muscle. And like any muscle, it grows stronger the more you use it. It won't always be easy. But remember, mindfulness is not about being perfect. It's about showing up with intention. Each time you catch yourself before reacting, you reclaim your energy. You shift from being a victim of emotion to the master of it. Over time, people will feel your presence. They'll notice your stillness. And your silence. It will speak louder than any reaction ever could. Your calm becomes contagious. Your energy, rooted, grounded, unshakable, begins to change the environment around you. So ask yourself honestly, are your reactions helping you grow, or are they chaining you to patterns from your past? Can you stay still, even when the world around you is loud? Because this is more than emotional control. This is spiritual maturity. It's the choice to pick peace over proving a point, presence over pride, wisdom over impulse. And each time you choose to respond instead of react, you're not just protecting your peace, you're practicing your freedom. Because true strength, it doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it pauses and chooses with wisdom. Master the pause, and you begin to master yourself. Lesson 8. Self-inquiry. Know thy inner world. The next step on this path is subtle but profound. Know what leads you forward and what holds you back. Most people move through life reacting, adjusting, surviving, rarely pausing to look within. But Buddhism reminds us, if your mind is the lens through which you view the world, then self-awareness is how you clean the lens. You can't fix what you refuse to see. You can't evolve past what you won't admit. Just like a house can only be cleaned when the lights are on, self-inquiry is the flashlight. It's not flashy, it's not easy, it's not always comfortable, but it is the purest form of courage. To look inward, to ask, who am I when no one's watching? Why do I react this way? What am I running from? In my silence. These questions won't give you instant answers, but they open a door. And once you step through it, you can never go back to sleep. Because you may think you know yourself, but your habits, triggers, and emotional patterns, they often hide in plain sight. Every time you feel defensive, every time you delay your dreams, every time you scroll for hours or stay silent when your heart wants to speak. Those moments are signals. In the last section, we uncovered that our reactions aren't flaws, they're mirrors. Now let's look deeper at how to use those mirrors not to criticize ourselves, but to truly understand what's going on inside. Because this is the heart of self-inquiry. It's about tracking emotional signals and asking gently, what is this trying to teach me? Every reaction reveals an unhealed part of you. Every fear is a signal pointing towards something sacred underneath. And every time you avoid something, it's not failure. It's a map leading you back to your truth. This isn't a one-time realization. Self-awareness is a daily practice. It's the discipline of sitting down in stillness, not to escape life, but to observe it. Observe your thoughts. Watch the narratives you tell yourself. Trace the roots of your beliefs and behaviors. Not to shame yourself, but to finally understand yourself. And with that understanding comes liberation. So where do you begin? Step 1. Start journaling your emotional triggers. Write it raw. Don't filter. Let the page see what your voice may still be afraid to say. Step 2. Every time you overreact, pause and ask, what fear is underneath this? Because beneath every angry outburst is often sadness, insecurity, or the ache of not being seen. Step 3. Practice staying with your emotions, not escaping them through distraction or denial. Let them rise. Let them move through you. Step 4. Replace judgment with curiosity. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're unfolding. Yes, it's easier to look outward, to blame, to scroll, to overthink, but nothing truly changes until you turn inward, until you're brave enough to sit still, to sit in silence, and simply listen. That's where your true power lives. Not in controlling the world around you, but in understanding the world within you. So ask yourself honestly, what truth am I avoiding inside myself? What would happen if I stopped running and simply stayed present, stayed curious, stayed honest? That's when clarity arrives, not like a lightning bolt, but like a whisper in the stillness. You're not lost. You're simply unfamiliar with the depth inside you. But once you explore it, you don't just find answers, you find yourself. Because peace begins the very moment you stop running from yourself and start listening to the silence within. Lesson 9. Digital detachment. Disconnect to reconnect. Let's shift from the inner world to the noise that keeps us from hearing it. The mind, as the Buddha said, is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And in today's hyper-connected world, the loudest noise isn't outside your window. It's in your pocket. It buzzes, it pings, it scrolls endlessly. And before you even realize it, you've become a passenger in your own life, hijacked by the rhythm of other people's thoughts, opinions, and updates. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us, you cannot hear your soul if the world's volume is always turned up. And that's not just poetic, it's essential for your survival. Because a distracted mind will never be a peaceful one. Each morning you wake up and check your phone before checking in with yourself, you're teaching your mind. External chaos deserves my attention before my inner clarity. And over time, that habit, innocent as it may seem, becomes something far more dangerous. A life led by reaction, not reflection. A mind that's constantly stimulated, but rarely still. You start moving faster, yet understanding less. You consume more, but feel emptier. That's not connection. It's fragmentation. It's digital clutter dressed up as productivity. So ask yourself, what would happen if you just stepped away? Not forever, but just long enough to hear yourself again, long enough to let boredom return, to feel the pause, to sit with your own presence. In the last section, we asked what might happen if you simply unplugged from the world, just long enough to hear yourself again. Now, let's go even deeper, because in that silence, when the noise fades and the scrolling stops, something surprising happens. You don't feel broken, you feel bored. But boredom isn't a flaw, it's an invitation, because boredom is the beginning of reflection. It's where clarity begins to whisper, not in the scroll, but in the silence, not in consuming content, but in conserving your consciousness. Here's a gentle challenge. Schedule solitude the same way you schedule meetings or meals. Make it sacred. No screens, no background noise, just you and your thoughts. Yes, at first it might feel strange, even uncomfortable. You might reach for your phone, your to-do list, your distractions. But what's actually happening in that moment is that you're remembering who you are without all the noise. You're detoxing from the constant stimulation. You're allowing your nervous system to breathe. Ask yourself, is your screen time feeding your mind or fragmenting it? Are you using the internet or is it using you? The goal isn't to escape the digital world, it's to master your relationship with it, to choose when to engage rather than be endlessly consumed by it. Digital detachment doesn't mean becoming a monk, it means becoming the master of your own attention. It means reclaiming your energy and devoting it to what actually nourishes you, like stillness, like breath, like real presence. So set boundaries like you would with anything sacred. Mornings, screen-free. Meal times, phone down. Evenings, present, not distracted. Because silence isn't an inconvenience. It's the space where healing happens, where intuition returns, where your thoughts begin to settle, and where your inner clarity starts to rise. And here's the truth. When you unplug from the noise, you re-plug into your power. You remember that your worth isn't tied to likes or replies, that your peace doesn't require an audience, and that your mind, when disciplined, becomes your greatest ally. So ask yourself, what would your day feel like if you weren't constantly plugged in? What kind of clarity, creativity, or calm might return if your attention wasn't always being hijacked? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to log out of the world and log back into yourself. Lesson 10. Let go of the outcome. Focus on the effort. There comes a moment in every journey when you must make a decision. Will you keep walking even when the destination is unclear? So many people don't suffer because they've failed. They suffer because they can't control the result. But Buddhist wisdom offers a different approach. Do your duty, but do not concern yourself with the results. At first, that might sound passive, but in truth, it's one of the most empowering teachings of inner peace. Think of the farmer. He plants the seed, he waters the soil, he protects it from harm. But then, he waits. He doesn't pull at the roots every morning to check for progress. He doesn't panic when the rain is late. He trusts the process. He surrenders to the unseen work. Clinging to the outcome is like holding your breath, waiting for applause. It creates tension, anxiety, fear. You begin to measure your worth by results, numbers, validation. But what if your role wasn't to predict the harvest, but to become excellent at planting? Imagine how much lighter your life would feel. if you focused solely on the effort you give instead of fearing the outcome you can't control. Because peace, real peace, doesn't live in outcomes. Previously, we explored the freedom that comes when you release your grip on results and fully immerse yourself in the present moment. Because peace isn't found in the prize, it's found in the process. It lives in presence. It lives in those quiet moments where you show up, give your best, and let go of the rest. That's not passivity. That's power. It's a powerful shift from control to contribution. When you focus on the process, you master the one thing that has always been within your grasp, your action. But the moment you become attached to outcomes, something shifts. You leave the moment. You get pulled into worry, tension, fear. And your energy, your creativity starts to fade. But when you detach from the result, something beautiful happens. You move with grace instead of pressure. You stop rushing. You start flowing. Ask yourself honestly, are you working with presence or with attachment? Is your mind anchored in what now or tangled in what if? So many people procrastinate, not because they're lazy, but because they fear the result. They hesitate out of perfectionism, anxiety, or self-doubt. But when you put forth effort with presence, you enter a state of surrender. It's a quiet trust that whispers, if I give my full heart to this moment, life will meet me where I am. So keep showing up, even when no one's clapping, even when progress feels invisible. Keep writing, keep creating, keep healing, keep learning, because trust is built in silence, and growth, real, meaningful growth, often happens in stillness. Often, life aligns after you let go, not before. The very moment you stop forcing something to happen is the moment space opens up for better outcomes, unseen blessings, and peace that doesn't depend on external events. So ask yourself, what would your life feel like if you trusted the process more than the prize? What if you stopped waiting for permission to feel proud and simply gave your best every time? That's freedom. That's presence. That's the path of the peaceful warrior. Quiet, focused, unattached. When you focus on effort and release the outcome, you don't just move through life, you rise through it. Lesson 11. Solitude as a superpower. Choose sacred aloneness. Now let's explore one of the most misunderstood forces of inner strength: solitude. Most people fear being alone, but not because solitude is painful. It's because solitude reveals everything that distraction hides. In a world addicted to noise and non-stop connection, silence often feels like emptiness. But the truth is, silence is not empty. It's full of answers. Solitude isn't punishment. It's a portal. It's a sacred space where you hear the whispers of your soul, where the masks fall away, where the noise fades, and only truth remains. When you choose sacred aloneness, you step fully into your own energy, undisturbed, unfiltered, and unmasked. And in that quiet space, real transformation begins. Think of a seed. Before it ever breaks through the surface and blooms, it spends time alone, deep underground, in the dark, rooting, strengthening. If it were disturbed too early, it would never survive the storm above. And you're no different. The strength you admire in others, the grounded presence, the wisdom, the peace, was built in seasons of isolation. In those long, quiet stretches when no one was watching, but everything inside was changing. Solitude is where your roots grow deep. Time alone reveals what noise has disguised. It shows you your patterns, your triggers, your deepest desires. You begin to ask questions you've never asked before. What am I really chasing? Whose voice am I trying to impress? What do I truly want? Beneath the pressure, beyond the noise? And these kinds of questions, they don't arise in distraction. They don't echo through a crowded feed. Previously, we explored solitude not as loneliness, but as sacred space, where the noise fades and your soul begins to speak. Now, we go even deeper into this inner silence, because real transformation doesn't begin when you fix yourself. It begins when you're finally willing to listen. True growth happens when you sit with yourself, not to judge, not to fix, but simply to listen. Many people fear being alone because they confuse stillness with stagnation. But here's the truth. Solitude is not idleness. It's restoration. It's the sacred space where your thoughts settle, where your emotions soften, where the fog lifts and your next step becomes clear, not because someone told you what to do, but because you finally heard yourself. When you embrace time alone, you stop searching outside for answers. You begin to trust your own inner compass. So pause and ask yourself, do I avoid my own company, or do I welcome it? Do I fill my day with noise to avoid hearing my own thoughts? Or do I allow silence to become my teacher? Because here's something powerful. The person who can sit alone in stillness and feel full is the person no one can control. The deeper you know yourself, the less the world can shake you. In solitude, your energy stops leaking. You're no longer reacting to expectations, performing for attention, or comparing yourself to anyone. You're just being. And in that state of being, you remember your strength. You reconnect with your breath. You begin to realize, I am enough. Even here, especially here, it's in that very moment, when you stop needing more, that your true power returns. Not from doing more, but from needing less. If lately you've been feeling overwhelmed, scattered, or stuck, maybe what you need isn't another podcast or another opinion. Maybe you just need less noise, less pressure, less chasing. Maybe your next breakthrough isn't waiting in more action, but in quiet reflection. Maybe it's waiting for you in that one moment of stillness, where your soul can finally speak uninterrupted. Solitude isn't emptiness, it's sanctuary. And when you choose yourself in silence, everything that was lost in the noise begins to return. Bonus principle: transcend overthinking. Be the watcher of thoughts. Let's end with something many of us quietly struggle with: overthinking. Overthinking is like trying to solve a puzzle that was never meant to be solved. Your mind loops. It replays conversations. It imagines worst-case scenarios. You convince yourself that you're being cautious or just thorough. But beneath all of it is fear. The fear of not being enough. The fear of something going wrong. The fear of losing control. But here's the liberating truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Just as a river does not become the leaves that float on its surface, you don't have to become every thought that passes through your mind. You can simply observe. And in that space of gentle observation, overthinking begins to lose its grip. Picture this. Your thoughts are leaves floating downstream. Some are heavy with fear. Some are dark with regret. Others are bright with curiosity or hope. But none of them are you. You're not the leaf. You're not the river. You're the one sitting on the bank, watching. You don't jump in. You don't chase the thoughts. You don't fight them. You simply watch them pass. This is mindfulness. This is presence. And this is where freedom begins. Because overthinking creates imaginary problems. You rehearse arguments that never happen. You replay mistakes you can't change. You build entire futures on assumptions that may never come true. But have you noticed? The peace you seek never comes from solving every mental scenario. It comes the moment you let go, because the mind always craves certainty. In the previous section, we learned that overthinking doesn't bring peace. Presence does. And once you begin to witness your thoughts instead of chasing them, something shifts. You return to what is real. Because life doesn't exist in mental loops or imagined futures. Life offers something simpler, something far more powerful: presence. When you choose to witness your thoughts, not believe them, you return to the truth that's always been here. This breath, this moment, this choice. Now pause for a moment and reflect. How much energy have you spent worrying about things that never even happened? How many sleepless nights were filled with imagined problems? How many conversations have you replayed over and over, only to realize they couldn't be changed? How much guilt have you carried over things that were never fully in your control? Now ask yourself gently, what would happen if you stopped following every thought? What would open up in your life if you stopped reacting and started witnessing? This is where Buddhist wisdom gently leads us, not toward attachment, but toward awareness. Not into the storm, but into the stillness beneath the noise. The moment you truly understand that your thoughts are not facts, your life begins to shift. You stop panicking at every passing fear. You stop spiraling at the first sign of uncertainty. You breathe, you observe, you return to the present moment again and again. And suddenly, you're not just surviving life, you're experiencing it. So let this be your quiet new practice. When the thoughts come, and they will, sit with them. But don't serve them tea. Welcome them like passing clouds in the sky. Acknowledge them, then let them go. Come back to your breath. Come back to now. Over time, you'll come to see peace isn't about having no thoughts. It's about not letting your thoughts have you. Because the moment you stop chasing every idea that pops into your head and start simply watching them pass like leaves on a stream, that's when everything begins to change. Peace was never hidden in thinking more. It was waiting in simply being here. Quick summary of the principles. Let's gently revisit what we've uncovered together. Each lesson a quiet key to deeper presence. 1. The power of self-focus. True peace begins when you stop outsourcing your attention. When you turn inward, you reclaim your clarity, energy, and direction. You react less to the world and connect more with your purpose. Self-focus is the root of real transformation. 2. Silence as strength. Speaking less creates space for wisdom to enter. Silence isn't weakness, it's inner control. It allows you to respond with clarity, listen deeply, and protect your energy from needless noise or drama. 3. Detaching from negativity. Negativity only has power when you engage with it. When you let go of the urge to react, defend, or argue, you discover strength in non-reaction. You become untouchable, not through force, but through freedom. 4. Discipline is divine. Discipline isn't punishment. It's the quiet structure that supports your growth. By showing up daily for your habits, you train your mind to overcome excuses and align your actions with your highest intentions. 5. Let go of toxic people. Sometimes, protecting your peace means walking away. People who constantly drain, manipulate, or disrupt your energy must be released. Letting go isn't cruelty, it's self-respect and spiritual maturity. 6. Master small habits. Lasting change doesn't come from big, dramatic shifts. It's built through tiny, consistent actions. Small habits, repeated daily, reshape your mindset and your life over time. In the previous section, we reflected on the principles that quietly reshape your life from the inside out through self-focus, silence, discipline, and mindful habits. Now, let's complete this journey by tying it all together, because living with presence isn't just a mindset, it's a way of being. Build habits that support your growth and stability. Let your daily practices be rooted in intention, not impulse. Mindfulness in chaos. Mindfulness is the power to pause in the middle of pressure, to breathe before reacting, to choose your response instead of letting ego choose for you. It's the art of holding stillness while the world moves around you. When you observe instead of react, you rise above unconscious patterns. You don't just calm the storm, you become the calm within it. Self-inquiry. The more you know yourself, the less the world can control you. Self-awareness is not optional. It's the foundation of freedom. When you investigate your triggers, your beliefs, your repeated reactions, you begin to understand your inner map, and that clarity becomes healing. Digital detachment. The digital world feeds on your distraction, but your soul feeds on stillness. Disconnect often. Step back from the noise to return to your center, because real connection doesn't begin when you log in. It begins when you log out and tune in. Let go of the outcome. Stop trying to control everything. Do your part, give your best, then surrender the rest. Attachment to results only creates anxiety. But when you focus on effort instead of outcome, life unfolds with more grace than you could ever force. Solitude as a superpower. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's choosing yourself. It's creating sacred space for reflection, healing, and realignment. Time alone builds strength. It reconnects you to your truth, and that truth becomes your anchor. Transcend overthinking. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness watching them. Overthinking traps you in problems that don't exist. But when you witness your thoughts without clinging, you find a deeper peace, one that no over-analysis can offer. In a world that constantly pulls your attention in 100 directions, the greatest revolution is to reclaim your focus. You are not here to be consumed by noise, drama, or distraction. You are here to awaken. When you stay silent, when you align your actions with your values, when you return to your center, you stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop reacting and you begin creating. We often think control means managing everything around us. But real control, real power, comes from managing what's within: your thoughts, your emotions, your time, your energy. As Zen philosophy teaches, when the mind is still, the truth has a chance to speak. The more you silence the outside world, the clearer your inner voice becomes. It begins to lead, to guide, to restore. So let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Let go of the urgency to explain, to prove, to convince. You don't need to prove your worth. You only need to live it. Because the most powerful transformation, it doesn't happen in noise. It happens in stillness, in solitude, in sacred self-discipline. Take back your power by turning inward. Clean your inner space. Speak less. Think deeply. Act with presence. This isn't just personal development, it's spiritual liberation. You weren't born just to survive the chaos. You were born to rise above it. You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. If these words stirred something in you, don't keep them to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs this wisdom. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds for more inspiring insights on how to live a peaceful, powerful life.